prayers. Will someone please call the sergeant to the chambers and have him deliver the prayer to the Honorable Premier?
Let us pray. Almighty God, from whom all wisdom and power are derived, we beseech thee so to direct and prosper the deliberations of the Legislative Assembly now assembled, that all things may be ordered upon the best and surest foundations for the glory of thy name, and for the safety, honor, and welfare of the people of these islands. Bless our sovereign lady, Queen Elizabeth II, Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, Charles, Prince of Wales, and all the royal family. Give grace to all who exercise authority in our Commonwealth, that peace and happiness, truth and justice, religion and piety may be established among us. Especially we pray for the Governor of our islands, the Premier, the Speaker of the Legislative Assembly, the Leader of the Opposition, Ministers of the Cabinet, ex officio members, and members of the Legislative Assembly, that we may be able faithfully to perform the responsible duties of our high office. All this we ask for thy great name's sake. Let us say the Lord's Prayer together. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. The Lord bless us and keep us. The Lord make his face shine upon us and be gracious unto us. The Lord lift up the light of his countenance upon us and give us peace, now and always. Amen.
Administration of oaths and affirmations.
None.
Reading by the Honorable Speaker of messages and announcements.
Honorable members, I've been intimately involved, directly or indirectly, with politics for the past 24 years. I must say that when we met on Monday last, I tried from then until now to get a full description of what was my view from the chair and or to my right. I'm trying to be as generous and as conservative as I can be in the conveyance of my findings and or expressions. I've chosen to term it as a comedy of errors. I thought this morning when we convened that things administratively and otherwise would have improved. When Her Excellency the Governor graces us with her presence, it is not in her personal capacity, but in fact, she's here to represent, especially on opening day, Her Majesty the Queen. And while we are still a democratic government, fashioned after and styled after the Westminster form of parliamentary democracy, and whilst I still have the honor and the distinct pleasure of being the speaker in this chair, or fulfilling any other capacity in this honorable house, I will not, in any form or fashion, tolerate disrespect to Her Majesty's government. There is a distinct procedure under our standing orders if we find fault or have reason to conclude that is gross misconduct or otherwise, to deal with it by way of substantive motion, and that includes this chair. I have no fear of any such motion, either for myself or Her Majesty's the government's representative. But I must tell you, I was most disappointed, disgusted, disgruntled, and even depressed to sit in that chair and see some of what transpired here. At this stage, it takes everything within this chair not to itemize what I observed transpiring on Monday. And for the purposes of this presentation, I will refrain from so doing. But if called upon, I will call out each infraction within this chamber, protocol office, and in the dining hall. I would ask members to be reflective of the awesome responsibility and invited guests, because it was not just limited to members in this honorable chamber. I'm very grateful that the Deputy Governor is here this morning. He had an acting person, so I did not raise it then. And for those who are so ill-informed that do not understand the parliamentary procedure, when the Speaker suspends the House, moves to the right, it is to allow Her Majesty's representative to occupy the chair. The House is in suspension, and the Speaker cannot interject or interfere at that movement. So any advice to the contrary that the Speaker could have intervened is nothing short of a fallacy. I apologize to the listening public that I've had to take up the precious time of the House, seeing that we're at such an important juncture to deal with it, but I felt that it would be entirely remiss of me not to express my deep disgust of what transpired on Monday. I thank you for the opportunity, and again, I reiterate, I have no fair favor if members feel like moving a substantive motion as a result of the position I've taken this morning. Do as you please. Madam Clerk, next item.
Presentation of petitions. Presentation of papers and reports. Ministry of Home Affairs Annual Report 2014-15 to be laid on the table by the Honourable Premier, Minister of Home Affairs, Health and Culture.
I recognize the Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to lay on the table of this Honourable House the annual report of the Ministry of Home Affairs for the year 2014-2015.
So ordered. Does the Honourable Premier wish to speak to his report?
No, thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
I recognize the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Madam Speaker, this is a very important report which we have not had time No, Madam Speaker, yes, I rose to talk, but not on the Home Affairs matter, was on the missing report on the missing person, which I don't think we've got to as yet. Yeah.
Next item, please.
Financial statements of the Cayman Islands National Museum for the year ended June 30th, 2015, to be laid on the table by the Honourable Premier, Minister of Home Affairs, Health and Culture.
I recognize the Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to lay on the table of this Honourable House the financial statements of the Cayman Islands Health Services Authority for the year ending 30th of June 2014.
So ordered. Does the Honourable Premier wish to speak to this report?
No, thank you, Madam Speaker.
Next item, please. Financial statements for the Cayman Islands National Museum for the year ended 30th of June 2015. To be laid on the table by the Honourable Premier, Minister of Home Affairs, Health and Culture.
I recognize the Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to lay on the table of this Honourable House the financial statements of the Cayman Islands National Museum for the year ended 30th of June 2015.
So ordered. Does the Honourable Premier wish to speak to this report?
No, thank you, Madam Speaker.
Review of the Cayman Islands Police response to reports of missing persons at sea, 6th of March 2016, to be laid on the table by the Honourable Deputy Governor, ex officio member responsible for the portfolio of the Civil Service.
I recognize the Honourable Deputy Governor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to lay on the table of this House a report entitled Review of the Royal Cayman Islands Royal Cayman Islands Police Response to Report of Missing Persons at Sea, 6th of March 2016.
So ordered. Does the Honourable Deputy Governor wish to expound upon his report?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, just to read the executive summary, all members now have a copy of the report. Madam Speaker, the executive summary is as follows. At 23:57 on Sunday, the 6th of March, 2016, a telephone call was received at the Cayman Islands Emergency 911 Service Center from a member of the public reporting her two children and
Sorry,
brother
Deputy Governor, can I just have a copy of these reports?
See it right there?
Please proceed, sir.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. At 23:57 on Sunday, the 6th of March, 2016, a telephone call was received at the Cayman Islands Emergency 911 Service Center from a member of the public reporting her two children and brother missing, having failed to return from a boating trip earlier in the day. Further investigations revealed that there were 5 persons on board, 3 adults and 2 children. Initial inquiries by the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service resulted in no confirmation as to the whereabouts of the craft or occupants. Search and rescue units were not tasked until daylight the following morning due to concerns over safety of crews. During their first flight, the Police Air Operations Unit helicopter located the craft, which was subsequently recovered by the Joint Marine Unit launch. However, the occupants were never found, and the cause of the incident remains unexplained. Following the incident, the Governor of the Cayman Islands called for an independent review of the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service, RCIPS, search and rescue response to this incident. The United Kingdom Maritime and Coast Guard Agency, MCA, were approached in April 2016 and asked to assist by sending a representative to the Cayman Islands to conduct an independent review of the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service response to reports of the persons missing at sea from 6th of March until the operation concluded. The review was conducted by the Maritime Operations Commander, Andrew Jenkins, a senior officer with nearly 20 years of search and rescue SAR experience, which has included working at various roles, which has encompassed all levels of command from operational through tactical to strategic, as well as working to review incidents, recommend or implement best practice, and identify issues when they have occurred. The review took 1 week to complete, and a draft report was presented to Her Excellency the Governor on completion. The nominated justices of the peace who were assigned to oversee the process were in receipt of the draft report also. The conclusions from the review found no major faults with the search and rescue response to the incident, either with the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service or the 911 Emergency Service Center. Information gathering was appropriate, as was search planning both at the onset and as the incident progressed. The decision to not launch either the police The decision to not launch either the police helicopter or Cayman Guardian during the hours of darkness was concluded to be correct once all the factors had been considered, and these factors are clearly laid down in this report for clarity. The incident does, however, highlight some areas for consideration with the SAR infrastructure, in particular the oversight of SAR operations and integration of communications. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Questions to the Honourable Ministers and members of the Cabinet. The elected member from Northside to ask the Honourable Minister of Planning, Lands, Agriculture, Housing and Infrastructure. Question number 1.
I recognize the honourable member from the District of Northside.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to ask the Honourable Minister of Planning, Agricultural, Lands, Housing and Infrastructure the following question standing in my name. Can the Honourable Minister give an update on the amount paid to MEPCO for its MEP consultancy on the addition to the Edna M. Moyle Primary School?
I recognize the honourable minister responsible for infrastructure.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, to date, no, I understand. Madam Speaker, God is a good God. And He is with us. It'll be okay. Nothing happened. I just had it. Madam Speaker, the answer. The amount paid to MEPCO to date on the project asked by the member from Northside has been $13,900. And let me just add, Madam Speaker, since the answer was prepared and sent down here, I understand that there were ongoing, I don't want to say negotiations, but perhaps for lack of a more appropriate word, I use that, because there was still some, I don't have the exact figures, but I'm thinking it's pretty close to $4,000 that was claimed to be outstanding, but was not paid. Bear in mind, Public Works directly is handling this matter, not ministry.
Recognize the honourable member from Northside.
Through you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, can the minister say whether the ministry is giving any consideration to permanently eliminating MEPCO from bidding on government projects, given their terrible performance on this project?
Honourable Minister responsible for infrastructure.
Madam Speaker, the member will fully appreciate that it is not I who decides those matters. I understand. I understand his question. I want to just clarify it all the way through. So I have not heard or seen, I've not heard of anything or seen any written correspondence to that nature. I am of the view, based on the supplementary question asked by the member from Northside, that it is his view that this is what should occur. If the member so desires, I will certainly pass his view on to the ministry staff who are responsible for public works, and I'll see what happens. But I can pass the message on if that's what he thinks. And I also am happy to give an undertaking to the member and all other members to get a complete written report so that everybody will know what was not paid, why what was not paid, so that there can be a full report. Unfortunately, he didn't know. Nothing is wrong, but I didn't know this question was on today because I have asked them to do that based on the conversation that we had, and I'm going to get that in any case, but I don't have that available yet.
Recognize the member from Northside, followed by the member from Eastern, and then the Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Madam Speaker, I thank the Minister for that undertaking, because the Minister can confirm that this company was contracted to do mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, and that the planning department failed all three of those things based on the plans that were submitted for these two classrooms. And having been privileged to attend most of the project management meetings, it was clearly evident that the persons involved had, irrespective, I don't know what their qualifications were, but certainly they demonstrated a serious lack of knowledge about either mechanical, electrical, or plumbing during the meetings, and it in fact led to additional cost to the project, with walls having to be dug out because they did not include the sinks in the classrooms. They didn't include the sink in the staff room, and the air conditioning was, the only way I could describe it, Madam Speaker, would be a complete fiasco. Besides it being, in my view, and the limited researches that I have done, largely overprescribed, like 5 tons for a 12 by
Honorable
14
member, I
room.
take it you're going to be turning it into a question shortly.
Yes, Madam Speaker. So, but just laying the groundwork for the question that, given that experience, that coming, you can be longer than that. Can I ask the minister to give this House an assurance that the staff of the ministry will seriously look at the performance of this company in these situations?
Honorable Minister responsible for the infrastructure. I don't know whether
Thank
you
you,
wish to
Madam
repeat.
Speaker. I thought I had done so earlier, but in order to allow that observation to become a question, I will answer it and say I will give that undertaking once more.
Recognize the member from Eastern.
Madam Speaker, I would like to follow up on the first supplementary and the response about not having companies work for government again. Would the minister agree with me that when people or professionals are engaged to design projects for the government, and they design those projects and recommend only the equipment that they have or that they are agents for, that they have exclusive rights for. Would the minister agree with me that that is a conflict and that should not occur, especially when there are other means within the country to achieve the same result?
Honorable Minister responsible for the infrastructure.
Forgive me, Madam Speaker, that what the member for East End is asking could well be true. However, in the case where an RFP is sent out, listing design and supply, if the bidding process occurs and the successful bidder is bidding for the design, installation, and supply of certain equipment, even if they sell that equipment, if they win the bid, then I don't believe there's a conflict, because it means that their bid was the cheapest or the best one, all things considered. However, I don't know the specific circumstances with this deal, if I may quote unquote call it that in Northside. I will have to find that out, but I hope the member appreciates what I'm saying, because what he's asking, when I am outside the box listening, it can be, but then it doesn't have to be if there was a bid which included the supply of that equipment, regardless, because it means that whoever else bid would either have the same situation or they would be getting their equipment from somewhere else if the bid included the equipment. What I don't know is whether this bid included the supply of the equipment or whether it was a separate issue. I don't know the answer to that, but I hear what the member is making, the point the member is making.
Recognize the Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, can the Honorable Minister say, A, who is or what is MAPCO? B, what are the additions to the school? And C, what is the total cost?
Honorable Minister responsible for infrastructure.
Madam Speaker, I don't have the exact details. I'll give the answer as best I can. I know there were 2 classrooms and a staff room, in addition to walkways and a fence, that were totaling some 1,800 square foot of construction that was included in the addition to the Edna Moyle Primary School. MEPCO, I do not know who owns MEPCO. I don't know any of the details. I know that it's a local company. I believe I know who used to own it, but I understand that it has changed hands, so I don't have all the details. I can find all of that out. In fact, Madam Speaker, just so that everybody will understand, whatever details I've had asked for today will be in whatever is sent out to all members, because I will make sure all of that is found out. I just don't know all of that offhand because I didn't have any direct dealings with the situation. In fact, and I say this not to be misunderstood, but as the member from Northside said, he was much more involved in it than I was, and we've had dialogue during the course of that construction, plus since then, and it is as a result of some of his observations why some follow-up is being done to ensure that if there were mistakes made during this situation, that those mistakes will not occur again.
Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank the Minister for at least giving an undertaking that he's going to get some facts for us. That's good, but can you say what is the total cost? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
We'll move on to the next question.
The elected member for Northside to ask the Honourable Minister of Planning, Lands, Agriculture, Housing and Infrastructure. Question number 2.
Recognize the Honorable Member from Northside.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to ask the Honourable Minister of Planning, Agriculture, Lands, Housing and Infrastructure the following question. Can the Honourable Minister give an update on the completion of the Rumpoint, Waterkey and Sandpoint Junction?
Recognize the Honorable Minister for Infrastructure. Honorable Minister responsible for Infrastructure. Order.
Madam Speaker, thank you. Madam Speaker, the answer is saying that the junction was completed on the 14th of April 2016 with signage installed on the 15th of April. However, as has been pointed out to me by the member from Northside, in the little island that was built where the road has shifted course, there seems to be a need to pave that very small area in a similar manner to the one done for the entrance in to Hutland, the Hutland Road. And I myself have observed a little while ago that that was not completed. So I will speak to the NRA to ensure that that is done in short order. For the sake of completeness, Madam Speaker, the member and others have also pointed out to me that where the new parking lot for the Rumpoint has been graded and rolled, that there also needs to be some type of fence put around that so that traffic does not expect or attempt to get out onto the main thoroughfare, because that could be a dangerous situation without them going through the proper roadway. And I have already spoken to the NRA to ensure that they contact the owners to let them know that what is expected of them to be done.
Let's move on to the next question.
The elected member for Northside to ask the Honourable Minister of Financial Services, Commerce and Environment. Question number 3.
Recognize the Honorable Member from the District of Northside.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I beg to ask the Honourable Minister of Financial Services, Commerce and Environment the following question. Can the Honourable Minister explain why the owners of mega yachts and ships have not been prosecuted to the full extent of the National Conservation Law when they damage coral with their anchors?
Recognize the Honorable Minister responsible for the Environment.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the answer, to our knowledge, there have been 5 incidents involving damage to coral reef resources by vessels in Cayman waters during the tenure of this administration. Firstly, there was an incident involving the cruise ship Carnival Magic, which took place on the 27th of August, 2014. Secondly, there was an incident involving an unknown vessel at the a dive site known as 13 Trees off 7 Mile Beach. That was in March of 2015. Thirdly, there was an incident involving a 60-foot Hatteras sport fishing vessel, I hasten to add, not based in the Cayman Islands, called Chiquitita, which grounded on the northwest corner of Cayman Brac on the 18th of May 2015. Fourthly, there was an incident involving the cruise ship Zenith in the designated port anchorage area in December 2015. And lastly, Madam Speaker, there was an incident involving the motor yacht Tatouche, which took place in the 7 Mile Beach Marine Park around the 14th of January 2016. Each of these incidents were thoroughly investigated and documented by the Department of Environment. The Carnival Magic incident occurred just outside the southernmost cruise ship anchorage, number 4, designated by the Port Authority. Investigations revealed that the ship had requested an alternative anchorage to the one assigned by the Port Authority due to prevailing weather conditions, and that the port pilot provided by Bodden Shipping had attempted to anchor the ship in a sand patch south of anchorage number 4 to accommodate this request. An error resulted in the ship's anchor and chain resting on live reef instead of sand, causing a total impact area of approximately 16,000 square feet or 1,500 square meters. It is important to note that this incident took place before the relevant section of the National Conservation Law had been commenced. And unlike the NCL, where damage to coral is a strict liability offense, the Marine Conservation Law requires intent to be established. Due to the close proximity of the incident to the port anchorage area and the complications presented by the involvement of a port pilot, it was decided not to pursue prosecution, but to seek voluntary compensation for the damaged resources from the cruise line. Carnival eventually paid $100,000, which was used to fund emergency restoration efforts on the site. As there were no witnesses to the incident, which took place in March 2015 at the 13 Trees dive site, the Department of Environment and volunteers eventually righted the broken corals, wedging detached but live pieces back into the reef where they could hopefully recover. The incident involving the 60-foot Hatteras sport fishing vessel Chiquitita occurred when the mooring line of the public mooring to which the vessel was tied parted, resulting in the vessel coming to rest on a shallow reef. The captain was interviewed and the matter was thoroughly investigated. A total impact area of 925 square feet or 85.9 square meters was assessed. During the course of investigations, the insurance company for the vessel came forward and requested to settle the matter out of court. Applying various damage assessment methodologies to the injury area, and drawing on local legal precedent, the Department of Environment recommended a settlement of around CI $10,000. On the 12th of August 2015, a check of $12,195.12 was produced as settlement for the incident and subsequently deposited in the Environmental Protection Fund as required by the NCL. In December 2015, the Pullman Tour cruise ship Zenith anchored in a designated but less used port anchorage area, causing damage to some of the remaining live coral in the area. Due to the circumstances of the case, a prosecution was not brought against the ship. The investigations and discussions involving the motor yacht Tatouche incident are still ongoing, and I am therefore not at liberty to discuss the details of this incident any further. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
If there, the honourable member from Easton.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I wonder if the Minister can explain to us what part does the Port Authority play in ensuring that the environment is protected from anchorage within the territorial waters?
Recognize Honorable Minister for the Environment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Port Authority obviously have designated anchorage areas, and my understanding is, certainly based on my own observations and interaction with the Port Authority, is that whenever there are visiting vessels seeking information or advice on anchorage, they direct them to the specific areas that are designated as anchorage areas, or they point them to specific mooring buoys that are installed specifically for the purpose of mooring vessels of that appropriate size. Thank you.
Honorable Member from East End.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, indeed, in view of the Minister's response, I wonder if the Minister can tell us why then are we having moorings, anchorage of vessels damaging our corals, our marine environment, if there are designated areas?
Honorable Minister responsible for the Environment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I think it's clear from the answer that I've given that there have been incidents which have been reported, which have resulted in damage even within established anchorage areas. And there are other examples which I have mentioned as well, which reflect perhaps good intentions, but bad execution. And either through recklessness or through negligence or through incompetence, vessels have anchored, and instead of having their chains within sand bottom and having their anchor in clear sand bottom, they end up either anchoring on a reef or anchoring on sand near the reef and then having the chain put out too long, coming back and damaging live coral. So, Madam Speaker, I think this is a reflection of an unfortunate reality that these risks will exist, and this is one of the reasons that I think certainly my approach and the department's approach is to try to get some additional mooring buoys in place which are sufficient capacity to handle the size vessels that we're talking about. There are buoys that are available. Certainly there's a greater number of buoys that are available for smaller vessels, but we do not have sufficient number of mooring sites for very large motor yachts and those that we would typically refer to as super yachts. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Member from East End.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I ask all these questions because of, I guess, my prior profession and knowledge of these things. And yes, I understand negligence. Madam Speaker, that's supposedly the minister there. He has some belief of his knowledge with his 60-foot boat too. But, Madam Speaker, well, you tell him stop disrespecting me while I'm speaking too, okay? Madam Speaker, I understand, you know, they draw people out and then expect not to get response. Madam Speaker, I understand negligence and the like. I understand all that. But wherever designated anchorage is, it should be in such a place that in the event weather changes, the wind changes, and the ship swing, that it will not damage any sensitive areas. Are we comfortable with these areas? Who approve these areas? Are we comfortable from the national conservation perspective that these areas are of sufficient size that all of this damage does not occur when at anchorage?
Honorable Minister for the Environment.
Madam Speaker, there are anchorage areas, certainly.
Order. The House will go into 5 minutes suspension, and I would like to see members in a large committee room.